All right, so the markets finally calmed down a little bit. S&P and NASDAQ both actually closed up a little bit this week. Friday was a day that started out a little bit slow, but it did close up a little bit by the end of the day, which I believe is what exactly kept the markets up for the week. It's been a while since we've had a positive week as well, so that's definitely good, at least as far as that goes. First things first, if you get value out of the video, please like, subscribe, comment, check out those links below. Very much appreciate the support. So first thing I wanted to get into, Daniel Pronk. One thing to remember, the markets bottom before the news improves. If you wait until the outlook looks better and the future is more certain, then you have missed the best opportunities. And I was reading about this the other day. I don't remember exactly what it was specifically, but I remember saying that, or seeing that once we hit a recession, once the Fed says, "Hey guys, recession's over. We're done. We're out of recession," the market has already bottomed, and typically it's up around 20% by the time the Fed acknowledges that. Usually the average Joe, even the average Joe, has figured it out by then, but the point still remains. The markets are forward looking. If you look at the near-term headwinds that the market is expected to face, pretty much all of that is priced in. The only way we're going lower is if sentiment or news that is even more negative than the news that has already came out comes out. So all of the stuff that we know right now, that's already priced in. That is already priced in. And something that I don't think people realize is, I personally, I'm in the camp that I think we still probably will go lower, but I think that we're going to be out of it sooner than people think. I don't think we see some major bear market. Now, again, I could be wrong. We could see a black swan. That's certainly possible, but black swans happen. I mean, they're rare by definition, which means it's very unlikely to happen and almost impossible to predict as well. So, and I mean, not to mention too, you look at, I think it's about 75 or 80% of years, the market is up. So I still think we're going to find a way to, I think we're going to end the year on a positive note. I think that the choppiness will continue, the higher volatility, not crazy volatility, will continue for the next few months, maybe even going into the summer. I think the fall and going into the end of the year, I think we'll close up, because unless the Trump administration, I mean, it doesn't, regardless of the politics of it, if they obviously know that the tariff stuff is going to spook the markets. I mean, they obviously know that. They've been fairly forthright about that. But the one thing is that if they want to continue to get their agenda through, regardless of whether you agree with it or not, it's not really relevant. They need to make sure that the markets aren't in the gutter going into the midterms. So the strategy, at least if there's any strategy behind it, which obviously there is, it's just a matter of what it is exactly, most likely is hey, let's get the stuff that's going to spook the economy and the stock market out of the way right off the bat, and then, going into the second year, the third year, the fourth year, but particularly the second year, that's when we'll do the stuff that the stock market's going to like, that's really going to boost the economy. That's my best guess. Obviously, I could be wrong, but that is my best guess. But again, one thing to keep in mind is the stock market is forward-looking. And I think that I do expect probably another bout lower before it's all said and done. But again, one thing that a thought that kind of crossed my mind today, or yesterday technically, is if we go 6 months, 8 months, 7, 8 months, 9 months in the future, does anyone really think we're still going to be in this, hey, we don't know what's happening with tariffs, we don't know what's happening with that and this and that? I think we're going to have a really good idea. We're going to know exactly what's going on with tariffs 6 months from now. I think that's not going to be something that the market's scared about. Now, for all we know, we could be mid-recession at that point, and that's what's scaring the markets. But the main thing that's scaring the markets right now is the tariffs. And I think that the tariff issue is not going to be something that we're going to be overly concerned about in the summer and in the fall. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. And not to mention too, Canada looks like we're going to have an election coming up. So I'm guessing Trump probably lets us off the hook for a month. Who knows what happens there? That probably could be a catalyst to drive the markets lower again. Who knows? But I do think that we're going to be out of this sooner rather than later, at least from what I can tell. The next thing here is Michael Saylor. This was announced on Tuesday. Strategy announced today the launch of STRF, a new perpetual stock offering available to institutional investors and select non-institutional investors. So this is basically another way for them to raise money to buy more Bitcoin. This one, although it looks to be different from the last one that they did, is as an average Joe, you could buy SDRK. But this one, it looks like it's just going to be available to institutional investors. This one has a higher dividend yield, slightly higher. I believe it's 10%. And I believe it's about 500 million is what they announced that this is gonna help raise. So this is good news as a MicroStrategy shareholder. This is another way they're going to be able to buy Bitcoin, and they still haven't crossed that 500,000 mark, but they probably will do it this week or in the coming weeks, maybe even in the coming days. So that's exciting as a MicroStrategy shareholder, that the fact that they're continuously finding ways to buy more Bitcoin. I like what they're doing, and I think that they should just keep doing what they're doing, because the more Bitcoin they can accumulate over the next 5 years or so, the better. And then after that, I think becoming a Bitcoin bank, offering lending, those kind of things, I think will be where they transition to. But I'm sure there's a lot of options on the table. The next thing is from River. This is they're a Bitcoin exchange, and they have custody service and that kind of stuff as well. So they basically come out and say here, which is very interesting, 80 public companies now are buying Bitcoin. 2 years ago there was 33. So again, they even break it down by sector essentially here. I mean, there's some Bitcoin only companies essentially. There's some crypto companies. Obviously, the exchanges are going to have Bitcoin. There's technology companies here, media, healthcare, finance. Obviously, Tesla is a well, it would be consumer discretionary, and then there's energy as well. So again, we have 80 companies. That the number has more than doubled in 2 years, and this is actually very, very. This is more than I would guess that it would have been. As someone who's fairly up and up on this space, this is more than what I would have guessed. So I think that this number is going to keep going up, and given this number is going to keep going up, it's just going to be even more positive for Bitcoin. And again, we are going to see within the next, I would say 10 or 20 years, maybe it's longer, I don't know, but that's my best guess on the time frame. It's going to be a normal thing for companies to hold Bitcoin. Like, that's just going to be a normal thing that companies do. We're only at 80 companies right now, and I mean, frankly, it looks like most of these are not really big companies, right? I mean, obviously Tesla's a big company, Coinbase is a big company, obviously MicroStrategy, I mean, they include BlackRock in here as well, who doesn't technically hold spot Bitcoin, they just hold it through their ETFs. But I mean, not to mention too, like, look at how much BlackRock has doubled down. Like, this is one of the reasons as well, is that obviously I'm not a huge fan of BlackRock and some of the things they do, but the fact that they're doubling down, like, this is the biggest company in their space in the world. If they are continuing to double down, they are making it very clear this is the future. Like, this is the future. So I think that's as positive as we can get. I'm not someone who thinks that this kind of stuff's going to happen overnight. I think a lot of this adoption is going to take a while, and not to mention too, there's a lot of people that are never going to get with the program. That's just going to be the way it is. But a very important point, I think, here is that if the amount of public companies buying Bitcoin is literally doubling every 2 years, it's only a matter of time until the majority of companies in the S&P hold Bitcoin. I mean, we already have, I believe it's Coinbase, I believe they're in it. Tesla's obviously in it. MicroStrategy will be in it within the next, I think it's 2 or 3 quarters of positive earnings they need, and that's probably this coming quarter is going to be the first one. So MicroStrategy probably will be in it by the end of the year. So I believe that's 3. So again, if we go from 3 to 6 in 2 years, 6 to 12 in 4 years, to 24 in 8 years, to 48 in 16. Okay, so that's 10% of the S&P by the end of the next decade. So who knows what's going to happen? This kind of stuff is incredibly hard to predict, but I think that this growth is going to stay. Like, I think this is going to stick around. Another interesting thing here, North Korea buys Bitcoin. They have over $1 billion in Bitcoin, 13,500 Bitcoin. What North Korea's plans with Bitcoin are is anybody's guess, but the fact that they're holding it, I think, is also... again, this is another thing too. Like, obviously, I'm not a fan of North Korea and the things that their government does. That should go without saying. But the fact that more and more countries are getting with the program, again, it's positive. It's bullish. Obviously, that the one bad thing right now is the price has gone nowhere for the last 4 or 5 months. But again, it's 4 or 5 months. And if someone told you that by, let's say, July 1st, the price of Bitcoin was 200,000 a coin, I don't think anyone would be like, yeah, I don't believe that. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I mean, whether you think it's going to happen, okay, that's a different thing. But would that shock anyone? Like, if it was 300,000 a coin, like that would not shock me at all. Like, the Americans came out and said they're buying 1 million Bitcoin, right? Apple or one of these big companies came out and said they're buying. Like, there's a laundry list of things that could make the price skyrocket in a short period of time. Stock market. As far as the stock market goes, I briefly mentioned it as well. S&P was up ever so slightly. The NASDAQ was up ever so slightly. The Mag 7 was actually down a little bit on the week, which is kind of a little bit of a sector rotation, which honestly, that's something I kind of like to see, because you don't want one area of the market constantly driving the market, right? So the fact that the Mag 7 was down in the week, but the S&P was up, the NASDAQ was up slightly, small caps were up, mid caps were up, actually almost 1%, I believe, for both of those. So that's something that's very good to see. So like I mentioned, I still do expect weakness. I think we'll still test the lows on the S&P and the NASDAQ over the next month or 2 or 3. But I do think that by the third or the fourth quarter this year, I think we're going to be trending up. Whether or not we're going to end up positive, I think that all depends on how big of a dip we get. If this dip we got like a week or 2 ago, if that's the lowest we go, I think we're going to close the year positive. But if we go lower, especially if it's 15 or 20%, I think it's going to be hard to close the year positive. So I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to 2 things. Number 1, what happens with these tariff issues, and number 2, recession. If we get a recession, we're probably going to end up the year down. I'd be surprised if we end up the year up if we get a recession. And the same thing goes with the tariffs too. So that's going to be interesting to see. And the last thing here too is the Fed. We did have the Fed meeting this past week. They basically held rates flat. The one big thing they did announce was they're actually rolling back QT. Now, they didn't completely end QT, but they are rolling it back. So that's something that's also interesting, and that's also them being more accommodative to the markets. So that is also the Fed basically signaling, hey, we are becoming more dovish. So, I mean, in a way, that's also them saying, hey, we're concerned about the market, but also in a way that it's a way for them to be more accommodative. So anyway, that's what I wanted to leave it at there now. Like I said, if you liked the video, please like, subscribe, comment, and stay tuned for more.